Hey guys, welcome back to DIY guitar making. I am about to start making a bridge. I don't know if you can see that right there. It kind of looks like a mustache. Pretty cool. I'm going to make this mustache bridge for my Parlor guitar. And you know what? Here, I'm going to show you real quick, since I happen to be in a situation where I have the final finished version of this hanging over in the other room. I can show it to you. So in the end, we're after something like that. This is guitar 106 for David in California. This is just a session of True Oil I have curing at the moment. So just wanted to show you that bridge. And hey, let's get started creating a new one. This one, however, will be out of Wenge instead of ebony, like you just saw right over there. So where did I put my Wenge blank? Oh God. Give me just 1 second to gather myself here. Where did I put that piece of wood? So my bridge blank is thickness down to about 7/16 of an inch. Really, ½ inch or less would just be a good starting thickness. Depending on what you're trying to do, you might want to start a little thicker or a little thinner. We're going for 7/16, and we're gonna first just cut out this shape that I've marked using a template with some gel pen, because it shows up nice and bright on the dark wood like this. And let's go ahead, let's trim this out. Alright, so I've cut out the bulk of the wood there. Now I'm going to shape the rest of the way down to my lines. I'm not going to use the template for any of this and any kind of flush trim router bit or anything like that, because the changing grain direction makes that essentially impossible, and especially with such a splintery wood as Wenge is. So it's going to be all abrasives for this and no template. You don't need the template. This you can shape very easily on the spindle sander, as you see in the background right here. And for these flat portions on the wings and in the front, I'll just go over to my combination belt/disc sander. Alright, now I'm going to refine the shape a little bit by hand here. I've got a sanding board, so I can take a close look at this and see if I need to tip my surface a little closer to the line on either side, or if I just want to clean up that flat surface and ensure that it is straight all the way across. That's the great thing about having these sanding boards like this. It's one of the most used tools, if not the most used tool in my shop, is the sanding boards. I have several different grits. I almost never have to pull the sandpaper off because it's cloth backed. It's basically sanding belt paper, so it lasts a really long time with the type of sanding that I'm doing on it, which is pretty minimal. Usually. Sometimes I do some heavy sanding on here. And then on these curves, I just want to, they actually feel really good. They look really good. There's kind of a bump right here. I can take a very small, skinny, flat block like this and just sand that out a little bit. And then I have a rounded block. I want to use both the flat block and the cylinder block right here to sort of blend that out, and that feels better already. Okay. Alright, that looks pretty good. You know what? Let me address real quick, just for a moment, the question of why why Wenge? Why am I using Wenge for the bridge here? So, I have been hearing from a number of people, old readings that I've read on Irvin Samaji, he has mentioned Wenge. More recently, I've heard other builders mention Wenge. I think Brian Gallup was talking about Wenge at some point, but if I'm wrong about that, I'm wrong about that. But anyway, a lot of people have been talking about Wenge as this sort of lesser known, less expensive, for sure, wood than, say, something like Brazilian rosewood or African blackwood or something like that, that still has a really high Q. Q is basically this, it's a measure of brittleness, but brittleness is highly related to the tonal properties that we're interested in. So Q is basically, you can think of it as shorthand for tone, okay? It's a way of measuring the resonant potential of a particular wood. That's a good way of putting it, actually. Anyway, I have become very interested in this wood. The Parlor guitar that I'm building is an all Wenge, so I went a little nuts, but it's an all Wenge guitar except for the soundboard. I don't think Wenge would be good for the soundboard, but I wanted to try it for everything else, even the fretboard and the head plate here. But there's a number of builders out there who will not build all Wenge guitars, but they will use Wenge particularly on the bridge, and only on the bridge, for the reasons of it being lighter than ebony and having that resonant potential, higher resonant potential than ebony, higher Q. So anyway, Wenge. That's why. All right, let's get back to work. So, I have attached my bridge template so that we can mark out the bridge pin holes, which are in this arc configuration. I should explain that configuration for just a moment. Aside from it just kind of looking a little bit different, I mean, you all have probably seen this on some guitar before. It's not very unique, but it's a little bit out of the ordinary. The reasoning behind it, though, is not to have all of your holes, all 6 holes, straight in a line, which, if you've ever seen a guitar that was split either along the top of the bridge or underneath on the bridge plate, or both, sometimes it's both, that's because all of the bridge pin holes are straight in the line. Now, it's not guaranteed that you're going to have that problem if you put all your bridge pin holes straight in the line. It's pretty common to see them that way, but you're definitely not going to see that problem on an arc configuration. So now you know the function behind it. It's not just a pretty little thing, okay? Let's mark these out. So I've got my 3/16 of an inch transfer punch, and I'm going to place that in the first hole. Well, check it out, guys. I done did it. I screwed up. That hole right there, is cattywampus. It's wonky, it's janky, it's off. I know exactly what happened here. Again, we're dealing with Wenge here, and one thing in particular about Wenge, it has huge pores. So that hole is so far off that I definitely lined up the brad point of the bit with a nearby pore and not with the actual indentation that I made there. So this is toast. This is firewood now. I'm not going to use this. Yeah, I guess I could fill the hole and then re-drill, but it's not worth it. I'm going to start over, and hey, maybe that's a good lesson to pass on, to gain from this for you guys and for myself. Something like this, don't try and recover that. Just start over, especially with something like this. It's not a big deal. It feels like a big deal to me right now. I'm upset, but honestly, it's really not a big deal to just go back to a big old chunk of Wenge like this. I'm gonna recut this and just start from scratch. All right, but you guys don't have to suffer through all that. We'll just skip right back to this point. Let me try that again. And just like that, we got a brand new bridge without any cattywampus holes there. That's amazing. We're back on track. It's freaking magic. You know what? This actually gives me an idea here. I just want to try something. Oh, hold on. One more. Oh! And look at that. Wow. What a game changer. Wow. The guys at StewMac are not going to be happy about this. Okay, enough of that nonsense. Now getting back to actually making our bridge. I brought us over into the finishing room where guitar number 106 is hanging, simply so that I could show you the final bridge here that we're shooting for. Now I've only done this bridge 2 times. Well, 3 times if you count the prototype, which is I made out of MDF here, which I'll show you in a minute. It's good to have prototypes like that. But now we're at the stage where I get to shape some of the interesting facets into this bridge here. And unfortunately, having only made this bridge a couple times, I didn't actually take notes on the methods that I used to shape this, so I'm going to kind of rediscover it for myself right now. I don't remember exactly what I did, but what we have to do is put these facets on the front here. This front edge is beveled back. The wings are, vertically speaking, they're swept back, but they're also, in the vertical realm, they are beveled back. There's a nice round over all along the back edge. Let me see if I can get the light to hit that well. All along that back edge. And then, of course, the wings taper down. Now, it's not the usual Martin style swoop down, the scoop. It is just a straight, flat bevel. You can see the light hitting it right there. So, going to my MDF template here, it's going to be useful to use this in order to measure the lines off of here and take a marking gauge, and I can a marking gauge and a pencil and a ruler, and I can kind of mark out the relevant areas here. The bevels along the front edge and the sides of the wings, and these flat tapers here, I can do all of that work, I think, on both a combination of the disc sander, because I can tilt that table to set it at varying degrees to get the right angle that I want here, and on the belt sander too, I can rough in some of the more difficult angles to get. And then lastly, the bevel on the back edge, I'm going to use a marking gauge to mark a line on the bottom as sort of like a do not exceed line with my file. And then I'm going to mark a line along the top as well, and I'm going to carve by hand with a file this lovely round over. Okay, and that's it. Nothing to it but to do it. At this point, let's go ahead and do it. So I started these bevels on the disc sander with the table tilted back to get the appropriate angle. So I'm talking about the bevel in the front and on the sides of the wings. And once I have those facets started and sort of 80 to 90% of the way down, I'm going to finish this up just so I can do some refinement to it by hand on the board here. So a little careful attention. Watching that scribed line is my way of making sure I'm not starting to lose track of where I am, right? I'm not starting to create a wonky surface there. Okay, now onto that round over on the back edge. So I've got my scored line that I made on the back here, about 1/8 of an inch up, and I just made another scored line using a grommet on the top part of this curved surface. So now it's just simply a matter of carving facets, nice even facets, with this half round file. And I'm just going to go between those two lines and round all the way up to each one of those lines for a nice even round over all the way around. In the end, it should look like a machine did it, really. The consistency should be really good as long as you're paying attention to your facets and you are not going outside of those two lines. Alright, so this is the basic shape right here. I say basic because this is going to be refined a little bit right before I glue it down. There's a couple of things that I am going to do to refine this, but I'm at the point right now where it has the basic shape, so I can sand the radius, which I'm going to put some sandpaper right on the top here and sand this gentle 30-foot radius that I have on the top. I'm going to sand that into the mating surface of the bridge. And in addition to that, after this gets glued down, we still need a saddle slot in there. I always do that with the bridge glued in place. We need chamfers on the bridge pinholes. What else? We need to ream the bridge pinholes to fit. So there's some fine work to be done here, but I wanted to give you guys just a little rundown of this starting shape, the shape that I start with. Okay, welp, I am pretty tired now, having done 2 of those, essentially. Well, 1.5, because I had to bail on that other bridge that I started. So I'm going to call it right here, and I'm going to say thanks for watching, and bye for now, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye. If you learned something here, please give this video a like and subscribe so you can be notified when I release a new DIY guitar making video. And if you want to really learn more, take one of my structured online courses at ericschaferguitars.com or register for a hands-on guitar building workshop here with me in Burnville, Pennsylvania.